Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's rally show with me, Bob Irvin. And as usual, a massive thank you to Five Star Vehicle Delivery for bringing us the channel. Delighted tonight to have Osian Pryce, the brand new British rally champion. Is that sunk in yet, Osian?
No, not really. It sounds great, but it definitely hasn't sunk in yet. Still sort of getting used to it. People coming up to me and say, well done, champ, and stuff like that, and it does really sort of hit home. But in terms of the results sinking in, I think it'll take quite some time. But no, I'm happy with that, and just enjoying the moment, to be honest.
So was there no big party on Saturday night? No hangover? Nothing like that?
We haven't partied yet either. Bit of a poor show, to be honest. Noel obviously had to. We literally left from the podium, did some photos, and he had to leave to catch a flight. So it was quite frantic, to be honest. There wasn't much time in it before we had to drop him off in Manchester Airport, and very, very close on time. But we got him to the airport and managed to enjoy a couple of drinks and a meal with the family on Sunday. But otherwise, we haven't really had a proper celebration. So we're actually on with that. We're trying to plan a bit of a get together for everyone, and so everybody can enjoy and let their hair down and have a beer.
What was that feeling like, Osian, at the last control when you were through the forest fine, and you got to the last control? It must have been, mere mortals like myself will never know what that feels like,
Do you know what? It's actually quite a strange feeling. I've worked for the last 10 years really to achieve this, and I have no idea what it would ever be like. I've won rallies in the past, and that gives you a special feeling, but it was just such a surreal feeling, I think is the best word that I've just described to people. And the fact that anything that I've ever achieved has really sort of sunk in quite quickly and been like that. But when in this instance, it's been sort of a long dragged out process, and like I say, it still hasn't sunk in. So it's just been a strange feeling, but like it was such a relief, I think, on that last sort of time control, really, when we finally got the job done. But in terms of the rally, I think it was probably the most relaxed I've been all year.
Really?
Really looking forward to the rally, and it's a rally that I've enjoyed in the past, and I was quite chilled out, really. And I think I was there. It was a case of, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And that was it.
What were the permutations? What did you need to do to win the title in that event?
So it was a big ask, really. We had to win the rally, which, it sounds simple, but again, when you're up against sort of the most successful driver in the last decade, really, it very quickly becomes not so simple. Keith's a very accomplished driver, 4 times British champion, he hasn't achieved that. He's been against the best of the best when he's achieved those titles. So, he sort of gives a good run on the Friday night, and I really didn't expect to be where we were, to be honest. We put a lot of work in sort of off the back of last year. We had a poor rally there last year, so we were determined to sort of turn things around, really, and put our sort of learning to good effect. But the simple terms of it was we had to win, or otherwise it would have gone on to the last rally.
Yeah. Usually, you guys will be getting all the plaudits, yourself and Noel, but it's such a team, a victory for the team, isn't it? And people forget that, don't they? You'll get the plaudits, but and part of that amazing feeling you get when you win, it's because of the whole team and the people that's helped you get to that point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think even from my perspective, I seem to get all the glory. I think, to be honest, Noel has been such a massive part of this. I think he knows he's a very special guy. He knows how to get the best out of me, even in circumstances sort of outside of the rallying. Really, he knows what makes me tick and what sort of goes well, and what he knows. He understands me to the finest detail. So he's such an important part of it as well. And the team and the car, and you've only got to look at the car, really. The car's been pretty much faultless all year. We've had no reliability issues, and the car's been faultless. I've had the best car, and it is for me like such a family feeling as well. And that brings me on to my family, who have obviously been dragged along for the last 13 years while I've been rallying, trying to achieve this thing. And, for them, it's such a relief for them, but, and then lead on to the people who have backed me. This year we've had such a big list of sponsors really that have put their heart and soul into helping me. But, that doesn't take away from anything that people have done over the last sort of 13 years as well. It's been a journey for them as it is for me. So, the list of people is endless that have been involved really. It's not about the last 12 months, it's over the last 13 years. So it's been such a big adventure, and finally glad we got it done.
I mean, you mentioned this season the cars being faultless. You did get excluded from Jim Clark, didn't you? Did you not feel like just chucking it all in there and then? Did you? The toys now at the pram, because I think
in some ways, yes. I think I was more cheesed off with the way the situation was handled and what had happened. We respect the rules are rules. It was an oversight. The situation wasn't handled maybe in the best way. But I think as soon as I got in the car to sort of head home, really that day, I'd forgotten about it, and a lot of people wanted to interview me on it, and I said, look, I'm not really prepared to talk about it. We've done what we've done. They've made the decision. They made it very public, which is fair enough. And immediately I just thought about the next rally, and I think that was the best approach we could have done. And obviously it showed, because we won the Nicky Grist, which was a month later. So it was a hard thing to accept. But look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. We take the rough with the smooth, and it didn't affect us that much in the long run, because we've achieved what we set out to achieve.
I mean, right, so you started in 2009. Did you do the Latvian Championship or something in that year?
Yeah, so I was involved with a scheme then called Junior Rallying, which was sort of for underage drivers, really, under the age of 17, who didn't have a license to go sort of overseas to do some rallies. And there was a lot of training in 2008 before then as well, but 2009 was my first actual season of rallying over there. And it's basically like your Scottish Championship or BTRDA, 45-mile rallies, but you did have a recce. But that was just so crucial in my early days, really, getting a recce and driving proper gravel stages, before I turned 17. So it was a real eye-opener for me, and obviously the people and around me and my family as well.
So how did you actually get into the sport in the first place, Osian?
That's a good question. My father and my grandfather had a keen interest in the sport, really. My father did some single venues locally to here as a co-driver. Obviously, when Osian as a baby turned up, his rallying sort of dried up a little bit. Had to buy a house, obviously, to look after his young family, and that was it. So obviously, when I sort of became old enough to realize what rallying was, that was all that was on my brain, really. And somehow I caught the bug and was given the chance, really, from my family, to have a go in a car, drive a car around fields and stuff like that. Obviously escalated from there, really.
So I looked at your results in that earlier on, your drives, and you progressed through the Fiestas and Citroens and stuff like that. Was this manufactured deliberately, your route? I mean, did you want to win the BRC from a good few years ago? I mean, a lot of people jump into an old Chevette, stuff like that, but you seem to be quite current cars with I don't know, it seems very precise route you took. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it would seem like that, but actually I started off, the first time I really got into a rally car was, I might have been 14, 15, and it was in the Mark II Escort. So obviously not really the route to be taken. It was just basically my father and grandfather bought a car, and they said, well, have a go, see what you think. And I was fortunate enough to have a go, and very quickly they realized, oh, maybe there is something we could pursue here, and from a hobby aspect. And 2009 came then. It wasn't really like a career plan. It was all, this is a hobby. You're fortunate to be given the chance to have a go at this, and maybe sort of get a jump and get a kickstart on maybe others that are starting off in the sport. And it was purely that. And even in 2010, when we contested like selected local events, really, it was all there was no championship. We were in a Fiesta ST, which was a great car for learning. And it kind of, again, it just went from one thing to another. We just went from one rally to the next, never really thinking of a long-term goal. And when we sort of started the British Championship in 2019, we started in my old ST, but obviously the R2 car back then was sort of coming of age, and that was the car to have. So we did a couple of rallies, and then progressed to the R2 car then, and went on to win the British Fiesta Sporting Trophy in 11, which we thought we'd take a lot longer to achieve, but very quickly then we progressed to the Citroen, which obviously was another level of progression, and that was it. But there was no real thought to it. It was all basically, it is your hobby, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I knew, as a young lad, everybody wants to say we want to achieve and go and do great things, but I enjoyed every rally and took it as enjoyment and progressed very quickly from that, really.
What was the difference between the Citroen and the Fiesta? I mean, it was at 2012, that's when you really started getting good results, noticeable results, wasn't it? You're getting a lot of top tens and stuff in the Citroen.
Yeah.
Was that a really good car?
Yeah, the Citroen was a completely different animal, to be honest. Obviously, 2012 was a very, very steep learning curve for me. Struggled with the car a little bit, but I think I'd progressed so fast, really, in terms of what I'd achieved from a Group N Fiesta into a car, really, if you look back, was really ahead of its time. And we were up against the best of the best, and I mean, you had great competition in 2012 in the same car as well, which was good, and it was it pushed me on a little bit. But as a car, it was just phenomenal. I've actually still got the car. It's been in rebuild for the last 4 or 5 years, I think, for the last WRC event I did in it. But it's a car that I think I'll never sell, because it was so special in my sort of rally career, and such a great car as well. If I took it out next weekend, you could be right up there at the sharp end. But it was an animal, and it is an animal, and just such a great car. I mean, not a lot of people could get along with a car, but I just really found my own and really sort of learnt my craft, if you could say, in that car, really.
Was it 2013 you managed to get 4 first places?
Yeah, we had a bit of a turbulent season in 13. I don't think we finished most of the first half of the season because of mechanical stuff. Again, the joys of having a Citroen back then. It was obviously very temperamental and relatively new and undeveloped, and we went on then from I think it was 2 or 3 DNFs in a row to winning 3 events in a row, which was a complete dream.
Brilliant, yeah.
And that's how it is, and that's the story of my rally career, to be honest. If it's up, it's down, and that's motorsport all over. So very quickly in my rally career, I got the full experience of what rallying can be like, Yeah,
and of course, in 2015 you went to the first WRC event. Was it Portugal? How was that?
Well, that was another interesting weekend, really. I think we were fastest on, obviously contesting what was the Junior WRC then in the Citroen Trophy. We were fastest on the first day. We broke down. The car had a new development sort of engine and bits and pieces, upgrade kit. Broke down the first day, so we super rallied. Then we were fastest on the rest of the stages that day, then broke down again, then super rallied then for the final day, and then broke down on the way to the finish. So it was like a very sort of big sort of wake-up call, so like an introduction to the WRC, really, how cruel the sport can be at the top level. But it is what it was, and we learned a lot from that. You
also did Poland that year, is that right?
Yeah, Poland was a very similar situation, really. We were in a different car. We were in the team's car. Again, I think we were fastest, and because of the way we'd been seeded, we were running further back in the trophy. I would say 15 cars. Caught a car, dropped a minute, made that minute back up, led on day 2, I think. And then we just had a very mysterious, again, one of the niggles with the development engine. we had a mysterious misfire for one stage. It cured itself on the road section, dropped to second, and that's where we stayed. So it was it was a bit of a difficult weekend, but I think what followed that year was obviously that the car wasn't as developed as we'd have liked, and it's sort of so much budget up trying to repair the car. So then we obviously had to pull out the series, which is a shame. But we learned so much in those two rallies, and we got a lot of good and bad experiences, to be fair.
2016, you did, was it 6 WRC events that year? That must have been a strain on the budget.
It was, to be fair, but in terms of how it went, it was fairly cost effective with what M Sport were doing and DMAC back then. It was a good sort of, there was good incentives, and we were doing all the rallies. I think earlier in previous years they were only doing sort of 2 days out of the 3 in the academy and stuff like that. But we had a lot of experience that year, and a lot of learning, and even learning and life experiences that I put to use today. I had a great group of people around me then, experienced people helping me, and did those. I think we did Portugal, Poland, events that we'd done before, Finland, which is an eye-opener, Germany, which is still probably my most favorite event I've ever done.
Okay.
And Spain. So, and obviously topped it off with Rally GB at the end in an R5 car. But what an experience that year was, and to win it at our first attempt was pretty amazing, really. But some quick guys in that year as well. John Armstrong, Max Fatnan, Bernardo Souza. The names go on. I think Gus Greensmith. Obviously, you can't forget Gus. And you just look at what these guys have achieved. But what a year that was. It was a great year. We enjoyed that.
You mentioned the academy. The MSU could get a lot of stick, Osian, for not being able to provide like a ladder to the next step in rallying. How have the MSUK contributed to your career, do you think? And have they done enough for youngsters?
It's a difficult question. I mean, okay, I've been a part of the academy for I think it was 2 or 3 years. Obviously, financially, they don't help. That's kind of their policy, which is fair enough. It's the same across the board for everyone. They do get compared to the French Federation a lot, which obviously pour a lot of money in. Yeah, in an ideal world, I would probably say no. They haven't put their hands in their pockets, and they should have helped me and countless others. But I mean, there's obviously reasons behind it. I think obviously back in the day, I've been explained what the reasoning is to all that. But I've met a lot of great people, and it has opened a lot of doors for me. There's always a positive, and I did learn a lot of things, especially in that season in 2016. Different things that you wouldn't even think of really as a young driver, sort of coming through the ranks. But it'd be quite easy for me to say, look, they didn't put their hands in their pockets, they didn't help enough. But from a positive aspect, they actually did. They did quite a lot, and that was it really. And obviously, I progressed onto other things, and they opened the space for another driver, which was great. So I was on my way, and it was good that they opened it up to somebody else.
We call governing bodies, though, they get a fair bit of stick. A lot of it's justified, a lot of it's absolutely not justified. It's always interesting hearing from somebody like yourself your views. So that year, you also had your first shot in a 4-wheel drive car, and you won was it Mid Wales in the Evo fight? The Evo.
Yeah, that was 2000 might have been 16. Yeah, early 16. We did. I think the British Championship was relaunched. We did the national side on Mid Wales in the Mirage, which at the tail end of 15 that I did a lot of work with, and it was just great to be involved with it. Really, different project. A lot of people watching with interest, and obviously won the national section. We didn't do a recce. But we were actually, I think, like in the top 3 of the stage times most of the weekend, even though that we hadn't done a recce, and it actually snowed as well during the recce. So obviously we were all going fairly blind into most of the rally. But yeah, great experience. And again, back to the same thing. I met such great people, and people from like Spencer Sport. Jamie Jukes from Spencer Sport is a very close friend, and still sort of keeps an eye on what I'm doing today. And like I say, you never close the doors, and these people are always there help you if you ever need them.
2017, Finland and stuff. 2018, RS 1800. You drove that quite a few times in the UK, didn't you?
Yeah.
How does that feel coming out of this modern car into this screamer rear-wheel drive? You know, what is it? Is it fun as much as they say?
Yeah, I think how that came about was obviously 2017. We did the British Championship. We had a great year. We had some mechanical issues with the car. Didn't quite see the year out because of like funding and stuff like that. And then I thought, well, I didn't have a budget for 18. So my local rally here obviously was a historic round, and we didn't enter the championship as such, but we just thought, well, we'll hire a car. It's something that I'd always wanted to do. Obviously, having started really, for my first ever go in a rally car was an Escort. Okay, it was a Pinto engine Escort, so completely different to a BD. And I just thought, well, I'll give it a go. You know, something that's always appealed to me and in my blood. You know, in 17 as well, end of 17, I was building myself a Mark II Escort for the road as a bit of just something to do really over the winter, and really got the bug. And still to this day, I've had some great rallies, and again met more people and crossed paths with so many people and share the same passion. And that's really, you know, I've grown up around these cars, so it was good to do that rally. And I think the second rally that we did in it was the Red Kite, and we won it. So very quickly got to grips with it, and I'm actually building my own now. I say building, you know, I haven't done much in the last 18 months, but it's there, you know, and it'll slowly get put together.
What is your preferred surface, Osian? Is it tar or gravel?
It's a good question. It's obviously a question I get asked quite a lot, really. Again, when I do tarmac, I sort of go, oh, this is the best. And then I come back to gravel and it's like, oh, this is the best. And I can't really choose. I physically can't give people an answer. I mean, in terms of what my favorite event has ever been, it's probably Rally Germany. So maybe that would give me an inkling of, you know, maybe it's tarmac. But, you know, when you do events like Track Road at the weekend, you know, it's just different to anywhere else you go in the UK, completely unique. And it's it gives you a buzz that you probably don't get everywhere else in the UK. You know, we get used to the Forest of Wales, that all the rallies really are very much the same. But when you go to a unique gravel rally like that, it does sort of put the hairs on the back of your neck up, you know. It's quite special.
What about the Safari? You did the Safari in the Mark I, is that right? The classic?
Yeah, that was a great opportunity. And again, probably 2 weeks of my life that I could probably write a book on, just from those 2 weeks. Very special time that we had out there.
You're actually smiling when you're talking about it. It must have meant a lot to you.
Yeah, I mean, at the time when I was there, it was very much, how can I say, what am I doing? You know, this is completely alien to me, going blind, you know, going off a road book and so on and so forth. But the experience that you took with it, again, met great people, had such a great time. And not many people can say that they've done that. I mean, a lot of people can say the other things that I've done. Obviously, a lot of people can say that they could go out and do it now next season, but to go and do the Safari, not everybody can say that they've done that and achieved the finish, you know. And we put in like 4 or 5 fastest times as well, which is a bit unheard of for a little RS 1600 against the 3-litre Porsches. But you know, we had a great time, and you know, the photos from that week, well, 2 weeks really, were just phenomenal. And yeah, stories to last a lifetime, to be honest.
Incredible memory. Eh? What's your favourite event in the UK?
I'm going to be a little bit biased. Probably Rally Ceredigion. And even though that I'm being biased, I think I genuinely do think it's a fantastic event. And even seeing the progression from 2019 to this year, you know, it's just phenomenal what they've done with the event and where they're sort of planning to take it. It's kind of, you know, I'm from a sort of road rally background where, you know, my interest in rallying sort of started watching road rallies at night. And I remember sort of watching road rallies in that region really at night, you know, 10, 15 years ago, even more. And to sort of in 19 win Rally Ceredigion and go back this year, you know, has sort of car won was very, very special. But as a rally, as the stages, we had 4 different stages, 5 if you count the town stage, but every stage has its own character, and I think not every rally has the capability to do that. So it's a very special rally in that sense.
Looking through your career, Osian, you've not had many retirements at all. Is that because do you ever drive 10/10ths or just below it? You know, what's your kind of, or does it just depend what you've got to do?
I think a lot of it has come from budget side of things. You know, if you smash the car, that's it, your season's over. I think that's always what's been in the back of my mind, really. You know, self-funding it in the very early days. You know, if you smash the car, that was it. You know, there was no more rallying, and I've always kind of used my head, really. I'm not that type of person to, you know, in general day-to-day life, to come out all guns blazing. I tend to think about and, you know, persevere and look at things first before just going at it and hoping for the best. So I think it's just my character sort of reflects how I drive. And I think that the retirements that I had, you know, there's been, touch wood, you know, minimal crashes. A lot of it's been just mechanical stuff. So, yeah, I suppose you put it down to that.
I think in this day and age, when there's not a lot of sponsorship out there, you know, you've got to drive pragmatically. You know, it's just the way it's got to be. You know. 2 more questions anyway. 1 car, 1 stage in the UK. What would you pick? Which stage? Very good question.
Like my head's obviously going down the Ford Escort route, just because of the way it makes you feel. I mean, you can't really describe the feeling of driving an R5 car to somebody, because that's very, very unique as well. Not every youngster gets the chance to do that. Maybe more people would have the chance to go and drive an Escort than an R5 car. But if you go in the way you just want to enjoy and feel, you would take you know, a BDG. And the stage, that's a good question. I'd probably pick one of my home stages, really, just off the back of the RAC. You know, Garth A, Nugget Dovey. Again, just a bit of bias, but just how it makes you feel, and feels very, very special for me, that. So even in the snow and ice, it was great. But yeah, I'd probably choose a BD in the woods just up the road here.
Final question. I know you've got to through it. So final questions. What's next for Osian Pryce? What do you do now that you're current British champion? What's next?
Yeah, good question. It's a question I've been asked a lot this week. I really don't know what the future holds. Initially, I'd been saying to friends and family that, you know, if I'd won the championship this year, I was going to kind of call it for a little while and just take a little bit of a step back. We're running a family business here, and obviously my father's getting a bit older. My grandfather's still involved as well in the business, and everyone's you know, needs me about, really. And I'm finding it hard to find money to go rallying and put my efforts into the business as well. But I've also had another think after the weekend and think, you know, I'm riding the wave here, and it's just been such a great achievement. It would be such a shame not to carry on and
defend your title.
Yeah, and achieve other things. And I mean, I know the BRC have got new things planned for next year, which is nice to hear. You know, I've heard a couple of little things that are going to be changed, which is very encouraging for the championship. But I also would potentially like to look further afield to Ireland or bits in Europe. But again, it's all budget related.
Of course.
But you know, I just want to keep, you know, really, really, really enjoyed this year. It's probably been one of the most enjoyable years that I've done. So if I can just, you know, keep enjoying my rallying and put the stage times on the board, then I'm going to be happy.
I'm sure the Irish would love to see you over there in an Escort. We would certainly like to see you up here in Scotland in an Escort. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy man, and we really appreciate it, Osian. Thank you. And thank you very much to everybody for watching. If you like what you've seen, please like the channel and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Rally Show.